The Frugal Freedom Plan. Spend less, save more, and live wealthy on your terms. Written by Ronnie Rowland. Published by Growth Literacy Lounge. They're not flashing Rolexes. They're not posting from private jets. They're not announcing six-figure months on social media. In fact, the new rich rarely draw attention at all. You'd pass them on the street and never know. They're not trying to look wealthy. They're too busy being free. This book is for the quietly ambitious, the ones tired of working harder only to feel like they're falling further behind. It's for those who sense that something's off with the way we've been taught to chase success. Because what if the real problem isn't how much you earn, but how much of your life you've traded away to maintain an image that doesn't even feel like yours? The world doesn't need another money book filled with generic budgeting tips or recycled advice about skipping coffees. It needs a revolution in how we define wealth, not as accumulation, but as autonomy, not as luxury, but as leverage, not as more, but as enough. This book isn't about becoming cheap. It's about becoming clear. Every chapter is a call to reclaim what's been silently slipping away: your time, your margin, your peace. And no, it won't require extreme minimalism or a monk-like existence. What it requires is intention, discipline, and a bold willingness to live by design instead of default. There's a line from Naval Ravikant that captures the spirit of this journey. People who live far below their means enjoy a freedom that people busy upgrading their lifestyles can't fathom. That's what we're after here. Not just savings, but sovereignty. Not just cutting costs, but reclaiming control. The Frugal Freedom Plan is a roadmap to a life where you no longer live to fund a lifestyle, but instead, fund a lifestyle that supports your life. It's practical. It's philosophical. It's designed for those who want to step out of the rat race and into something richer than money: peace of mind, meaningful work, and ownership over every hour they spend. This is about building wealth you can feel, not just flaunt. Quiet, steady, unshakable. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Wealth Lie: Why Everything You've Been Told About Money is Wrong. You were told that wealth is about more income, more upgrades, more square footage, more followers. But here's the truth no one told you. The pursuit of more has made most people poor in peace, in margin, in time. The average household earns more than ever in history, yet stress, debt, and dissatisfaction are at an all-time high. We've confused consumption with progress. We've let our value be dictated by marketing campaigns convincing us that happiness can be purchased. In the process, we traded autonomy for aesthetic, real freedom for a curated illusion. Look around. People drive luxury cars they can't afford to places they don't want to go, to impress people they don't even like. Homes are filled with stuff that once felt like success and now feels like suffocation. The result? Working long hours to pay for a lifestyle that leaves little left over: no time, no energy, no options. This is the wealth lie: that the good life is found in earning more and spending more, that a higher income equals a better life, that if you just level up your career, your clothes, your zip code, you'll finally feel secure. But the goalpost always moves. There's always another tier, another toy, another trap. True wealth isn't about how much you earn. It's about how little you need to feel free. That's the shift. That's the rebellion. That's the beginning of power. When you stop chasing status and start building substance, you reclaim your life. You begin to see that every dollar you keep is a dollar of leverage. Every expense you cut is a vote for your freedom. Every intentional choice you make is a strike against the machine that profits from your insecurity. You don't need to become a minimalist monk. You need to become intentional. Every dollar in your pocket is a tool. Used well, it buys you time, peace, and autonomy. Used poorly, it becomes a leash, tying you to jobs you hate and lifestyles you can't escape. The lie sold you financial freedom through accumulation. The truth delivers it through clarity and constraint. This isn't about shame. It's about awareness. No one ever told you there was another way, that you could build a life centered on what actually matters. That saying no to what's popular could be the fastest path to what's powerful. The Frugal Freedom Plan begins by pulling the mask off modern money culture. It exposes the emotional manipulation behind consumerism and the emptiness of chasing endless upgrades. It doesn't tell you to spend nothing. It shows you how to spend only on what multiplies your life. This isn't a restriction, it's a recalibration. Your money isn't just a means to survive. It's a vote for the life you want to build, the meals you eat, the hours you work, the stress you carry, the freedom you experience. It's all connected. And when you start choosing differently, everything changes. This chapter isn't just a critique of the current system, it's a wake-up call. Because the moment you realize the game is rigged, you stop playing by its rules, you start building your own. One choice at a time, $1 at a time. Welcome to the beginning of the end of financial bondage, not through hustle. Not through hustle culture, but through clarity, courage, and control. The Frugal Freedom Plan is not a step down, it's a step beyond paycheck dependency, beyond anxiety, beyond status games. Toward a kind of wealth you can't measure in things, but you can feel in your soul. You were never meant to live in survival mode. And now, you don't have to. Real wealth is autonomy, not accumulation. Spending blindly is a form of self-imprisonment. Freedom starts when you stop chasing the script and start rewriting your own. Where in your life are you spending to impress, not to improve? Audit your last week of purchases. Circle every expense that didn't align with peace, purpose, or freedom. Chapter 2. Redefining Rich. What true wealth actually looks like. Most people never stop to ask what rich means to them. They chase it, crave it, post about it, but they rarely define it. As a result, they inherit someone else's version, usually loud, expensive, and exhausting. To redefine rich, start by noticing who you envy. Is it the neighbor with the new SUV, the influencer with designer bags, or is it the person who seems to live on their terms, unrushed, unburdened, unbothered? Envy is a clue. It shows you what you value beneath the surface. Many discover that what they really want isn't more stuff, it's more space, more quiet, more control over their time. They want the option to say no without consequence, or to rest without guilt, to stop performing. Real wealth is not loud. It doesn't need to be flaunted. It's felt in moments, not measured in possessions. The freedom to take a walk in the middle of the day, or to cook a meal without rushing, to help a friend without checking your bank balance. These are luxuries disguised as simplicity. The traditional definition of rich hinges on how much you have. But there's a more powerful lens: how little you need. When your lifestyle requires constant growth to sustain, you're vulnerable. One job loss, one emergency, one market dip, and the whole house of cards collapses. But when your definition of rich is based on alignment, not accumulation, everything changes. You stop needing upgrades to feel valid. You stop trading time for things. You stop measuring success by someone else's scoreboard. A person making $45,000 a year, with no debt, no pressure, and total control of their time may be far wealthier than someone earning $300,000 with a massive mortgage, chronic burnout, and no exit strategy. Rich isn't about earning more. It's about needing less to feel full. That's why defining what rich means to you is essential. Without a target, you'll spend your whole life hitting someone else's bullseye. For some, rich means early retirement. For others, it's being able to work part-time, travel once a year, and have a quiet home. There's no right answer, only your answer. But here's the secret: once you define rich, your money starts working for your life instead of running your life. You stop defaulting to cultural expectations. You start designing a life with intention. And that's where freedom begins. Think about your best days. The ones you'd relive if you could. Were they expensive? Or were they simple, present, and peaceful? Often, the richest experiences come from the lowest cost choices. A slow morning. A meaningful conversation. A walk with someone you love. Richness is not in the price tag, it's in the permission. To live wealthy on your terms, you must first know what those terms are. Not what your parents believed. Not what your peers expect. Not what society shouts at you. But what your soul whispers, and once you hear it, you protect it at all costs. The Frugal Freedom Plan is about funding your definition of rich, not anyone else's. It's about aligning your money with your mission. And if your mission is peace, time, and autonomy, you won't find it in Black Friday sales or bonus checks. You'll find it in clarity, constraint, and choices made with purpose. You are not poor because you spend less. You are rich because you finally know what enough looks like. Rich isn't about what you have, it's about what you no longer need. True wealth is felt, not flaunted. Redefining Rich unlocks clarity, purpose, and lasting peace. If money were no object, how would your days change, and what does that reveal about your values? Write your personal definition of rich. Be specific. Then circle the parts that cost nothing. Chapter 3. Awareness is freedom. Track every dollar, own every choice. Most people fear their bank account like a dark attic, better left unopened. But avoidance is not protection, it's paralysis. You cannot change what you refuse to confront. You cannot control what you do not track. Awareness is the first act of financial rebellion. When you start tracking your money, you're not just managing numbers, you're reclaiming your agency. You're pulling back the curtain on patterns that keep you stuck. You begin to see the invisible forces driving your decisions. Not just what you spent, but why. Was it boredom? Status? Guilt? Convenience? Money doesn't disappear. It moves. And if you don't tell it where to go, it goes where your impulses send it. Subscriptions renew. Takeout adds up. One-click purchases pile into hundreds. These aren't random leaks, they're habits unchecked. Habits become outcomes. And outcomes become lifestyles. To change your life, start with a pen and paper, or a spreadsheet. For the next 30 days, track every dollar. Not just the big bills or recurring expenses. Track the coffee, the impulse buys, the parking fees. Watch your habits come into focus like a lens snapping into place. The truth might sting, but it will set you free. Most people believe budgeting is limiting, but in reality, untracked spending is what limits you. It steals future choices. It erodes opportunity. A tracked dollar is a controlled dollar. It obeys your plan instead of your moods, and that shift is everything. You don't need fancy apps or color-coded charts to begin. You need honesty. Write down what you spent, where, and why. At the end of each week, review it. Look for patterns. Where is your money leaking joylessly? What purchases brought satisfaction, and which ones left you numb? What habits are costing you more than just dollars? This is not about judgment. It's about ownership. Every tracked dollar is a line of clarity. You see where you are. You see what's driving your results. And you gain the power to change it. When you track your money, something deeper happens. You build self-trust. You no longer lie to yourself about how tight things are while scrolling past another impulse purchase. You begin to feel the weight of each decision, not as guilt, but as intention. That's not restriction. That's freedom. Because now, your money reflects your values, not your vices. The world teaches you to spend without thinking. Algorithms are designed to bypass your defenses. Marketing wants you distracted and impulsive. Tracking is the antidote. It slows you down. It rewires your brain. It puts you back in control. In a culture obsessed with earning more, few realize the secret isn't income, it's awareness. You can double your salary and still feel broke if your money disappears faster than it arrives. But even a modest income, tracked with intention, becomes a powerful engine for wealth. Awareness doesn't cost you anything, but it pays you in confidence, clarity, and momentum. It's the smallest, simplest step that creates the biggest shift, because when you finally see where your money is going, you can finally decide where you want it to go instead. The Frugal Freedom Plan starts with seeing clearly. You cannot optimize what you can't observe. And once you become the kind of person who tracks, you become the kind of person who transforms. Awareness is the first step to control and clarity. Tracking exposes habits, impulses, and opportunities for growth. What you measure, you can master. What patterns in your spending have gone unnoticed, and what might they be costing you? Track every dollar you spend for the next 7 days. No exceptions, no excuses. Chapter 4. Plug the leaks, where your money secretly escapes. Money doesn't just disappear. It drips, quietly, slowly, invisibly. Most people think they have an income problem, but what they really have is a leak problem. And leaks, left unchecked, sink even the strongest ship. Look closely at the last month of spending. You'll rarely find one massive error. What you'll see instead is a pattern of small compromises, a subscription you forgot to cancel, a food delivery you didn't really need, an upgrade that felt good for 5 minutes. These aren't luxuries, they're liabilities disguised as conveniences. The financial industry doesn't talk about this. It wants you focused on investments and interest rates, not the $5 leaks that erode your foundation. But make no mistake, the daily drips do more damage than the one-time splurges. Why? Because they hide in plain sight. They become normalized. They feel like just a few bucks, until those bucks add up to your freedom. Plugging the leaks isn't about deprivation. It's about decision. Every dollar you waste is a dollar you can't use to build. Every recurring charge you ignore is a vote for staying stuck. Reclaiming that money is not just a financial act, it's a declaration of intention. Start with a spending audit. Pull up your last bank and credit card statements. Highlight every recurring charge. Then ask a simple question. Does this serve my freedom or just my comfort? If it doesn't directly support your values or goals, cancel it. Not tomorrow. Not next month. Now. Then look at discretionary spending. How many convenience fees, food deliveries, retail splurges, and entertainment expenses could have been redirected towards something lasting? This isn't about guilt. It's about clarity. You're not punishing yourself. You're freeing yourself. Many people resist this step because it feels tedious, but this is where the shift begins. You don't need a raise to feel rich. You need to stop bleeding cash through habits you barely notice. You need to take back control from default spending. Because once the leaks are sealed, you realize how much power you already have. This process reveals something deeper. It forces you to confront how often you've traded long-term gain for short-term ease. You'll notice emotional spending patterns, purchases triggered by boredom, stress, or comparison. Seeing these patterns is uncomfortable, but it's also the beginning of transformation. Because once you name the behavior, you can change it. Freedom isn't found in cutting everything. It's found in cutting the right things. Things that don't align with who you want to be. Things that add clutter instead of clarity. Things that fill time but rob peace. This isn't about being cheap, it's about being intentional. As you plug these leaks, something remarkable happens. Your money begins to work for you. You see your savings grow. You feel the margin expand. And with every unnecessary expense eliminated, you buy back more of your own life. You don't need to overhaul everything overnight. Start small. Pick 3 expenses this week and eliminate them. Use the freed up money to pay off debt, boost savings, or fund something meaningful. Each move compounds. Each choice builds confidence, and that confidence becomes the engine of your frugal freedom. In the end, it's not just about the dollars you save, it's about the identity you build. Someone who sees. Someone who chooses. Someone who controls their money instead of being controlled by it. That's the kind of person who wins, not by earning more, but by leaking less. Financial leaks often hide in plain sight and compound over time. Cutting wasteful expenses is a form of reclaiming power. Intentional spending creates momentum toward true wealth. What small recurring costs in your life are silently undermining your freedom? Cancel one recurring expense today that no longer serves your goals or values. Chapter 5. The Power of No. Cut ruthlessly, live purposefully. Most people think freedom is about saying yes. Yes to more money. Yes to more options. Yes to more experiences. But real freedom begins with no. No to what doesn't align. No to what weighs you down. No to what pretends to be opportunity but ends up as obligation. Cutting back is often framed as loss, but the truth is, every meaningful yes requires 1,000 quiet no's. The problem isn't that you don't have enough. The problem is you're drowning in things you never really chose. You inherited them: subscriptions, habits, commitments, expectations. They slipped into your life silently, and now they fill your days and drain your paycheck. Frugality is not the art of spending less, it's the discipline of spending only on what fuels your freedom. That means ruthless subtraction. Not reckless, not random, but purposeful. The goal isn't minimalism for its own sake. The goal is margin, clarity, control. When you cut the excess, you make room for what matters. Think of your money like a garden. Left unchecked, weeds take over small, unimportant things that steal resources from what you're trying to grow. Pruning isn't punishment. It's what makes abundance possible. You don't lose when you cut. You lose when you let the unnecessary choke out the essential. Start with your calendar. Every hour has a cost. Look for activities and obligations that no longer serve you. Say no without apology. Then look at your spending. Do the same. Ask yourself, Does this bring peace, progress, or purpose? If not, it goes. This is not about becoming cold or stingy. It's about becoming clear. Clarity is what makes intentional living possible. When you know what matters, you stop being seduced by what doesn't. You stop buying to impress. You stop upgrading by default. You stop filling your life with distractions that rob you of depth. Cutting aggressively doesn't mean living in scarcity. It means removing the clutter that keeps you from seeing your abundance. Most people don't realize how much they already have until they pause the chase long enough to notice. Scarcity is often a perspective problem, not a resource problem. As you begin saying no, you might face resistance from others, from yourself. That's normal, but stay the course. Every no strengthens your yes to margin. Yes to goals that matter. Yes to days that reflect your deepest values, not your shallowest fears. Financial freedom is built on choices that feel small in the moment but add up to transformation. When you cut what doesn't matter, your savings grow, your debt shrinks, your confidence builds, your energy returns. And most importantly, your life begins to align. This is how wealth is quietly built. Not through big wins, but through thousands of tiny pivots away from distraction and toward design. You don't need to make 6 figures to feel free. You need to make deliberate choices. No is not a rejection, it's a redirection. It's a boundary that protects the life you're building. You won't get it perfect. You'll cut things that creep back in, but each round of pruning gets easier. Each decision sharpens your focus. Until one day you realize you're no longer reacting to life, you're crafting it. Not according to culture's script, but according to your own. And that, truly, is what it means to live wealthy on your terms. Saying no is the foundation of intentional freedom. Cutting is not loss, it's liberation. Purposeful subtraction creates space for powerful alignment. What in your life needs to be cut, not because it's bad, but because it's not aligned? Identify and eliminate one non-essential expense or obligation this week. Chapter 6. Automate autonomy. Systems that build wealth while you sleep. Discipline is powerful, but it's also unreliable. Willpower fades. Motivation fluctuates, life gets busy, and good intentions collapse under pressure. The solution isn't trying harder, it's designing smarter. That's where automation becomes your greatest asset. It doesn't just save money. It builds a system that safeguards your freedom. Most people operate in reactive mode. Bills get paid when they remember. Savings happen when there's something left. But reaction is not a strategy, it's survival. Automation flips the script. It shifts money management from chaos to control, from effort to ease, from guesswork to consistency. The truth is, wealthy people don't have stronger discipline. They have better systems. They know that relying on willpower is a trap, so they remove the need for decision-making entirely. They set rules once and let automation enforce them forever. Start with your savings. Treat it like a bill, not a bonus. Schedule automatic transfers the day after your paycheck hits. Not at the end of the month, not when you remember. The goal is to make saving invisible, habitual, and non-negotiable. Even small amounts compound quickly when they're consistent. Next, automate bill payments. Set up autopay for utilities, rent, insurance, and minimum debt payments. This reduces mental clutter and eliminates late fees. It also protects your credit score, which in turn protects your options. Less stress, more structure. Then automate debt reduction. Create an extra monthly payment, no matter how small, and apply it to your highest interest debt. Set it and forget it. This not only accelerates payoff, but also keeps you emotionally detached from the process. You're no longer negotiating with yourself every month, you've already decided. The system executes. The magic of automation is that it makes good decisions the default. It eliminates friction. You don't have to battle impulse or negotiate habits. You simply live inside a system designed for your success. And over time, that system produces outsized results. Automation also helps guard against lifestyle inflation. When your income rises, you can increase your savings and investments automatically, before lifestyle creep takes over. You lock in gains instead of absorbing them into unnecessary upgrades. Your future self wins because your current self planned ahead. Many resist automation because they fear loss of control, but the opposite is true. Automating your finances gives you more control, not less. You control the structure. You set the rules. And once those rules are in place, they protect you from emotional spending and momentary lapses. This is about freedom, not rigidity. You can always adjust your systems as life changes. Flexibility is built in. But the power lies in making your ideal behavior automatic, not aspirational. Actual. When something is automated, it no longer relies on effort. It just happens. The result is peace. You stop stressing about missed payments. You stop wondering where your money went. You stop fearing emergencies because you've built in preparation. And all of this happens without adding more tasks to your to-do list. That's the beauty. You build wealth while you sleep, not by working harder, but by working smarter. This is how true autonomy is built, not through heroic effort, but through consistent structure, not through daily decisions, but through default behaviors. When your systems align with your goals, your freedom compounds. You're no longer managing money. You're commanding it. Set it up once. Let it run. Then get back to living on your terms. Automation replaces willpower with consistency. Wealthy behavior becomes effortless when systems do the work. Small, automatic actions lead to massive long-term results. What area of your finances could benefit most from being automated? Set up one automatic transfer to savings this week, even if it's just $10. Chapter 7. Live smaller, grow bigger, downsizing for the right size life. The world tells you to go bigger. Bigger homes, bigger wardrobes, bigger paychecks. But somewhere along the way, bigger became heavier. What was supposed to feel like success often feels like suffocation. The space got larger, but the freedom got smaller. Downsizing is not about living with less. It's about living with what fits. Not just physically, but emotionally, financially, and spiritually. It's about crafting a life that supports your peace instead of swallowing it. Living smaller isn't a step down, it's a step inward. A step toward clarity, control, and contentment. Most people don't need a bigger house. They need less stuff. They don't need a better kitchen. They need fewer unused appliances. They don't need more closet space. They need to stop buying what they don't wear. The modern home has become a storage unit for indecision, and the cost of that clutter is more than rent or mortgage. It's stress, distraction, and stagnation. Downsizing invites you to re-examine what truly adds value. When you let go of excess, you make room for depth. Fewer belongings mean fewer decisions, less space to clean, fewer bills, more time, more flexibility, more alignment between how you live and what you love. Start with your living space. Walk through each room and ask, does this reflect who I am or who I used to be? What do I actually use? What brings peace? What adds friction? The goal isn't perfection, it's permission. Permission to release what no longer serves you. Permission to redefine what enough looks like. Financially, downsizing is one of the most immediate ways to unlock margin. Smaller homes mean lower costs on utilities, maintenance, insurance, and taxes. It means less debt, less pressure, less hustle to maintain an image that was never yours to begin with. It means trading square footage for breathing room, trading appearances for autonomy. But this isn't just about homes, it's about lifestyle. Downsizing can look like eating out less and cooking more, choosing a reliable used car over a new one with payments. It can mean simplifying your schedule, decluttering your digital life, or paring down your wardrobe. It's a mindset, a constant pursuit of essential over excessive. And yet, downsizing is often misunderstood. People assume it's only for those who can't afford more. But true frugality isn't born from desperation. It's born from direction. It's a strategic, powerful refusal to be owned by your possessions. It's the recognition that every item you eliminate is one less thing stealing your attention, your money, and your time. Downsizing is also deeply personal. What feels light for one person may feel restrictive to another. The goal is not to live by someone else's standards but to identify your own threshold of enough. The right-size life is the one that leaves room for your purpose, not just your purchases. There is a quiet dignity in choosing less. It takes courage to walk away from the noise of consumerism and embrace the simplicity of intentional living. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it, because once you experience the freedom of right-sizing your life, you never want to go back. This is the paradox of frugal freedom. The smaller your life becomes externally, the bigger it feels internally. The less you need, the more you can breathe. The more space you create, the more clarity you find. And that clarity becomes the compass that leads you to the life you actually want. Downsizing isn't a downgrade, it's a strategic upgrade in peace and clarity. Living smaller reduces financial pressure and increases personal freedom. The right-sized life is the one that supports your purpose, not your possessions. What area of your life feels oversized for the value it actually brings? Choose one room closet or drawer and declutter it completely this week. Chapter 8. Freedom Investments. Buy back time, not toys. We've been trained to spend money on upgrades that impress others, but do little to improve our lives. New gadgets, bigger screens, flashier features, all distractions from what truly matters. But once you see money as a tool for freedom, everything shifts. You stop buying toys, you start buying time. The goal of the Frugal Freedom Plan isn't to save endlessly or hoard for a distant future. It's to convert surplus into sovereignty. Every dollar you save isn't just a number, it's potential energy, stored power. A building block of a life you control. And the smartest way to use that power is by investing it in things that reduce dependence, increase margin, and multiply options. The first freedom investment is debt elimination. Debt is time already spent. Every monthly payment represents hours of your life already spoken for. The faster you erase debt, the faster you reclaim that time. Start with high-interest debt. Every dollar put toward principal is a dollar that stops working against you. It's not just financial, it's emotional. Less debt equals less pressure, fewer obligations, and more breathing room. The second investment is your emergency fund. Life happens. Cars break down. Jobs change. Roofs leak. Without a safety net, every inconvenience becomes a crisis. An emergency fund is not about fear, it's about freedom from panic. It gives you options. It lets you pause before reacting, and it keeps your long-term plans intact when life throws a curveball. Next, invest in income-producing assets, things that earn while you sleep. This could mean index funds, dividend-paying stocks, rental properties, or even a side hustle that grows passively over time. These aren't flashy. They won't spark small talk at parties, but they quietly and steadily build the life you're after. Because every dollar earned passively is one less hour you have to sell. But not all investments are financial. Some of the best freedom investments are personal, skills that increase your value, health that expands your capacity, relationships that support your peace. A course, a certification, a gym membership, if it makes you stronger, smarter, or more self-sufficient, it's a good investment. And then there's the rarest investment of all, buying back your time directly. Can you pay to delegate a task that drains your energy? Can you reduce hours at work in exchange for a simpler lifestyle? Can you use saved money to extend a sabbatical, explore a passion, or build something meaningful? These are the dividends of frugality, the spaces where wealth and life finally intersect. Freedom investments don't always come with immediate gratification. They're slow, steady, and often invisible at first, but over time they compound. Each smart choice builds upon the last, and one day you wake up and realize you've bought yourself a different life, one with fewer alarms, fewer deadlines, fewer compromises, one with more margin, more presence, more control. The challenge is resisting the noise. Everywhere you look, there's a pitch to spend now, indulge now, upgrade now. But when you invest in freedom, you're playing a different game. You're building a life that doesn't depend on the next raise, the next trend, or the next crisis being avoided. You're building from a position of strength. The world may not notice, but you will. Every quiet financial win, every paid-off bill, every growing investment account, they're all signs that your life is becoming your own. And no toy, no trip, no impulse purchase compares to that. Use surplus money to reduce dependence, not increase distractions. True wealth is built through time ownership, not trend chasing. Freedom investments compound peace, power, and possibilities. If your money stopped going to stuff, what part of your life would you reclaim first? Take $50 this week and direct it toward a freedom investment, debt, savings, or passive income. Chapter 9. Kill the comparison, escape the trap of lifestyle inflation. Comparison is a thief with a friendly face. It shows up dressed as motivation, whispering that you deserve more, that others have better, that success should look like theirs. But behind the smile is a lie. The more you compare, the more you consume, and the more you consume, the more your freedom slips away. Lifestyle inflation is the silent predator of financial progress. You start making more money, and expenses magically rise to meet it. A raise becomes a new car. A bonus becomes a fancier vacation. Every increase in income gets absorbed by an increase in lifestyle. Nothing feels different except the pressure. This is not just a money problem. It's a mindset problem. A habit of measuring your life against curated illusions. Social media makes it worse. You see the highlight reels, the renovations, the upgrades, or the celebrations. You don't see the credit card debt, the anxiety, or the quiet desperation behind the screen. Lifestyle inflation feels normal because everyone's doing it, but normal is broke. Normal is paycheck to paycheck. Normal is stressed at every turn. Escaping this trap requires the courage to stop chasing status and start chasing substance. You don't win by having more. You win by needing less. When you define your own enough, you become immune to comparison. You no longer spend to impress or to keep up. You spend to align. You build a life that fits your values, not your feed, and that is the heart of financial peace. Killing comparison begins with gratitude. Not a vague sense of thankfulness, but a deep recognition of sufficiency. What you already have is likely what someone else is praying for. Gratitude grounds you. It slows the urge to upgrade. It reminds you that joy isn't in the next purchase, it's in the present. Next comes clarity. Know what you're working toward. Not in theory, but in detail. What does your ideal day look like? What kind of life are you building? Without a clear vision, you'll drift toward the nearest model, and usually, that model belongs to someone else. Clarity is your defense against distraction. Then there's discipline. The willingness to say no when everyone else says yes. The strength to drive the old car, live in the modest home, wear the same wardrobe, because you've chosen a different outcome. That's not deprivation. That's design. That's choosing purpose over appearance. Freedom is never built on comparison. It's built on alignment. You cannot move forward while staring sideways. What others do with their money has nothing to do with your plan. Their wins are not your losses. Their speed is not your pace. The moment you embrace that truth, you become untouchable. You don't need more income to feel wealthy. You need to protect the income you already have from being hijacked by envy. You need to build a wall between your values and their noise. And you need to remind yourself daily that peace is the real flex. Kill the comparison, and you kill the need to spend without reason. You stop reacting and start designing. Your choices become deliberate. Your progress becomes visible, and your money begins to serve you, not your ego. Let others chase the spotlight. You're chasing something quieter, deeper, and infinitely more rewarding. Lifestyle inflation is fueled by comparison and empties your freedom account. Gratitude and clarity are antidotes to envy and impulsive upgrades. True wealth is built by living aligned, not by living loud. Where have you allowed comparison to steer your spending? And how can you take that power back? Unfollow or mute 3 accounts that trigger lifestyle envy, and list 3 things you're already grateful for. Chapter 10. Design your ideal day. Align spending with your values. Money touches every part of your life, yet most people never use it to shape the life they actually want. They chase vague goals, retirement, success, freedom, without defining what those words mean on a daily level. But if you want to live wealthy on your terms, you have to know what a wealthy life looks like to you, not someday, today. And it starts with one question: what does your ideal day look like? Not a fantasy day. A sustainable, meaningful, values-aligned day. One that reflects who you are when you're not pressured, distracted, or proving yourself. Imagine waking up without an alarm, moving through your morning without rushing, working on something you care about, or choosing not to work at all. Eating food you enjoy. Spending time with people who energize you. Ending the day with peace, not exhaustion. That vision is more than a dream. It's a blueprint, because once you know what your ideal day looks like, you can reverse engineer your spending to support it. That's what most people miss. They budget around obligations and leftovers. But a freedom-focused budget starts with the life you want, then funds it deliberately. Start by mapping your current day against your ideal one. Where are the biggest gaps? Are you working more hours than you want because of debt? Are you commuting because of a car you can't afford? Are you spending money to escape a life you built on autopilot? Those misalignments aren't just unfortunate, they're clues. They show you exactly where your money is out of sync with your values. Once identified, each misalignment becomes an opportunity. You can adjust spending to reduce hours, shift careers, or save for a transition. You can simplify your life to buy back time. You can downsize your home and upsize your margin. You can cook more, consume less, and cut out noise disguised as necessity. The goal isn't to create a Pinterest-perfect life. It's to create a life that reflects your purpose, a life where your money and your values aren't at war. When you spend in alignment with what matters, even less money feels like more. You're not just earning, you're building. You're not just buying, you're becoming. Too often, people believe budgeting is about restriction. But in reality, it's a form of creative power. You decide what gets funded. You decide what thrives. You're not just paying bills, you're building days. And when your days are designed intentionally, your life transforms quietly and steadily. Alignment also reduces friction. Decisions become easier. Regret disappears. You stop second-guessing your purchases because you know what they support. Your money becomes a mirror of your mission, not a measure of your mistakes. That's the power of values-based spending. It replaces guilt with clarity, confusion with peace. There's no one-size-fits-all ideal day. For some, it includes quiet solitude. For others, meaningful work. For some, time with family. For others, space to create. Your version is yours alone. And that's the point. Frugal freedom isn't about conforming to a lifestyle. It's about funding your own, boldly, unapologetically, and on purpose. This isn't theoretical, it's tactical. Your budget is the steering wheel of your life. If it's not taking you where you want to go, it's time to turn. You don't have to wait for a big break or a big raise. You just have to get clear on what you want and start aligning your money accordingly. Design your ideal day. Then use your dollars to build it, one choice at a time. An ideal life begins with an intentionally designed day. Budgets should reflect your values, not just your expenses. Spending in alignment creates peace, clarity, and freedom. Where is your money currently funding a life you don't actually want? Write out your ideal day, then highlight one change you can make this week to move closer to it. Chapter 11: The Invisible Rich, Quiet Wealth, Loud Peace. Wealth has become performative. People are chasing the appearance of prosperity instead of its reality. Luxury cars, designer clothes, lavish vacations, all carefully curated to signal success. But behind the noise, many of those signals are funded by debt, insecurity, and desperation. Flash doesn't equal freedom. Often, it's the opposite. The truly wealthy often look average. They don't lead with labels or announcements. They lead with options. No one notices when they pay cash for a car. No one applauds their lack of debt. No one sees the peace they carry because peace isn't flashy. It's quiet. It's internal. And that's what makes it powerful. The invisible rich live below their means not because they have to, but because they choose to. They understand that financial strength isn't measured in square footage, it's measured in resilience. It's the ability to absorb a crisis without panic. It's the confidence to walk away from toxic environments. It's the freedom to design a life you don't need to escape. Quiet wealth comes from a mindset of enough. It's not about deprivation. It's about sufficiency. The invisible rich aren't chasing the next upgrade, they're enjoying what they already have. They know that more stuff rarely leads to more satisfaction. So they invest instead in peace, relationships, flexibility, and growth. This is a radical departure from modern money culture. The world wants you to associate wealth with visibility. But that visibility often costs more than it's worth. It invites pressure, comparison, and constant escalation. Once your identity is tied to lifestyle, it becomes difficult to scale back. You're trapped in the image. The invisible rich stay free by staying grounded. They make decisions based on values, not validation. They let their bank account grow silently while others compete for attention. They understand that real security isn't found in impressing others, it's found in needing less and owning more. Becoming invisible rich doesn't require a massive income, it requires discipline, humility, and clarity. It means choosing simplicity when complexity is expected. It means walking away from good deals if they cost you your margin. It means buying secondhand, saying no to upgrades, and letting others think what they want. There's dignity in restraint. Not the kind born of scarcity, but the kind rooted in self-assurance. You don't need to prove anything when you know what matters. And when you stop trying to impress, you start to build, quietly, consistently, powerfully. The invisible rich prioritize what lasts. They invest in long-term assets instead of fleeting pleasures. They focus on financial independence, not financial appearance. They understand that true wealth is internal first, external second. They are less concerned with being seen and more concerned with being stable. This doesn't mean rejecting all nice things. It means choosing them with intention, not obligation. It means upgrading when it aligns with your values, not your ego. It means letting your life be rich in meaning, not just in marketing. You don't need to be loud to be wealthy. You need to be intentional. You need to be consistent. You need to stop trading your future for the illusion of success today. And you need to redefine what winning looks like for you. Let others chase applause. Let others perform prosperity. Your wealth will speak for itself. Not with noise, but with choices, with freedom, with peace. True wealth is quiet, stable, and values-driven. The invisible rich prioritize peace over performance. Freedom is found in sufficiency, not in the spotlight. Where are you tempted to signal success instead of silently building it? Identify one area where you can trade a visible upgrade for an invisible financial win this week. Take care and be well.